I was going along normally when behind me there were many police cars, one man told local media. They stopped the traffic and uniformed policemen were getting out of the patrol car with the machine guns next to us, and I said, "This is not normal."
Citizen to a citizen, fool. Citizen to a citizen, fool.
Key to life.
Another one. And now, our feature presentation.
Welcome to another episode of
Pose.
Today we have a wow. We have in Ecuador a group of armed men armed with firearms and dynamite and homemade grenades storm a TV station and hold them hostage. Let me roll that in.
A broader war between gangs and government burst into the studio of an Ecuadorian TV station today, where armed men wearing masks and holding pistols and long guns broke onto the premises this afternoon and took employees hostage. The men flashing what appeared to be a grenade in front of the camera lens, jamming what looked like dynamite into one anchor's pocket, as the man pleaded not to be hurt. All of it broadcast on live TV. Police then pushing warnings on social media about the hostile takeover in Guayaquil, telling the public, "Our specialized units are deployed on site to attend to this emergency. News in progress." Witnesses reacting in real time. I was going along normally when behind me there were many police cars, one man told local media. They stopped the traffic and uniformed policemen were getting out of the patrol car with the machine guns next to us, and I said, "This is not normal. Something is going on." Ecuadorian police documenting their rescue efforts.
Policía!
And after about 30 minutes, they stormed the studio and ultimately corralled the masked intruders and their weapons. Incredibly, all hostages were released. The dozen-plus men later shown handcuffed and spread out against the wall as police stood over them with machine guns. The backstory is a broader conflict against armed drug groups that the president has termed terrorists. Ecuadorians, the time when the people condemned of narco-traffic, murder, and organized crime dictated over the government in place is already finished, he told the public earlier this week while declaring a 60-day state of emergency and empowering the army to neutralize these groups. It all comes after a gang leader escaped prison over the weekend, and Ecuador has been overwhelmed with an explosion of gang activity.
And with that, Sam Brock joins us live from Miami. Sam, this story is just so wild. You mentioned this escalated with the escape of that drug lord serving the 30-year sentence. What's the backstory here?
Yeah, Tom, the backstory is that Guayaquil is a port city in Ecuador, extremely strategically important for the drug trade, Tom. If you look at a map, there's Guayaquil. Just to the north, you have Colombia. Just south of that, Peru. And you have all of these rival gangs competing for that space, which is right on the Pacific Ocean. Now, the drug lord who escaped, his name is Adolfo Macias. He's part of Los Chineros, which is aligned, according to federal authorities, with the Mexican cartel, the Sinaloa cartel. So they're vying with Colombian cartels and other Mexican cartels for that space. Since he escaped, Tom, which he had already done previously in 2013, this situation essentially exploded. You had 7 police officers kidnapped in just a day or two since his escape. The police right now are being told they need to do whatever they have to do to try to get the situation under control.
So, while everybody made it out safely, I've been looking at it and asking, what would you do here in America if you're at work and one person or group of people comes in and starts to hold you hostage with firearms or dynamite or grenade.
This dwarf here don't gotta be tall. Let's pull a trigger off of somebody's face.
Good afternoon.
Back up. What's up?
Hey,
What?
Well, welcome to Smart Tech.
Hey,
Can I-
is
what can I
this your
help
boy?
You know, that made me think about most employers, if not all employers, don't allow you to carry firearms at work, on the premises or in the building, which honestly, I don't entirely disagree with that, right? For simple reasons, you know, a lot of simple reasons. We've seen where disgruntled employees have come back to work or come to work after being fired or maybe just having a bad day and have taken it out on coworkers. So I don't entirely disagree with that. And I kind of put this video up for a couple of reasons, right? I want to point out a couple of things. One is just to start the conversation of, you know, do you think we as civilians who don't require to have a firearm to do our job should be allowed to carry firearms concealed in the workplace? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on that. I know the majority of the 2A community, they'll more than likely say yeah, and then a small percentage will say no. So, you know, while I'm on the fence, I just look at a lot of the, you know, what's happened in the past with employees that have gotten upset at their employers. So I'll leave it there. Now, what I do want to highlight is something that I came across. I didn't know much about Ecuador and their politics or their policies or their laws. So I did some research to see if civilians were able to carry firearms. And turns out that there was a 12-year ban in place up until April. I'm not sure if it's still in place, but a bill was introduced back on April 1st, 2023 by the President Guillermo Lasso, which kind of eased up on those restrictions. And it's funny, the reasons why. I'm going to read this word for word. This is courtesy of insightcrime.org. So Ecuador is allowing civilians to carry guns in response to growing insecurity, potentially worsening the country's violence by giving criminals greater access to weapons. They go on to say that President Lasso announced a decree on April 1st that lifts the 12-year ban on civilians carrying firearms. So I guess, it's a decree, so it's in place right now, and it's been in place since April 2023. So he says, Ecuadorians, we have a common enemy: delinquency, drug trafficking, and organized crime, is what he said. Those are his words, not mine. So those who seek to carry a gun must be over 25 and pass a psychological evaluation, a drug test, and receive a certificate of skill in handling and using firearms. Anyone with a criminal record or history of domestic violence remains banned from purchasing a firearm. Their pre-existing gun law specifies that civilians may only own personal defense weapons, meaning specific types of pistols, revolvers, and shotguns. So this is going down in Ecuador. And it's pretty interesting to see what's working in Ecuador and what's not working in Ecuador, and having that translate over to the United States, what certain politicians are wanting to do as far as gun laws and bans, and what people need to do to go ahead and own a firearm. In some states, you can't own a firearm. In other states, you have to jump through hoops to own a firearm. But what particularly stood out to me is the drug test. The skill in handling and using firearms, and the psychological evaluation. I know I've talked about this in the past, whether or not these things should be implemented in the U.S. To make sure that gun owners are of sound mind. We recently had a shooting where a guy who already owned firearms and went through the background check subsequently went to a facility and was diagnosed with a mental defect, and then post that was declined a suppressor, but he already had the firearms. And then Post that, he went ahead and went on a killing spree.
You dumbass.
I know there's a lot of people that kind of agree with that psychological test, but I don't know, you'll find that, you know, that psychological test can be a little bit, I don't know, you know, you may be going through something at that point in time, take that test and fail it, but down the line, whether it be through medication or therapy, you know, you pass that test. You know, do you think that we should undergo that in the United States? I mean, I'm not providing my opinion one way or another. I'm just providing food for the conversation, right? Because it does need to be a conversation, and we need to take into consideration, you know, if we go down certain slippery slopes, you know, how far are we going to slide? So let me know what you guys think. Thankfully enough, this didn't end in tragedy, but it did really, for me anyway, kind of open up some thoughts, made me think that, you know, what's going on there and how they respond. So they're responding to crime with allowing more people to make it easier for you to get firearms in Ecuador. Meanwhile, here in the US, we're responding to crime by trying to implement more bans on firearms, whether it be ARPs, AR-15s, pistols, magazine bans, things of that nature. So it's interesting that this country, who's going through what they're going through, is trying to help the people, and then over here, which is a far smaller country, Ecuador, but over here in the United States, where we have a different culture, different everything, we're trying to go ahead and take away those rights.
I'm not saying nothing because every time I say something, I'm bullying.
So anyway, chime in, comment. You know, I do these pause episodes so we can pause, stop for a second, think for a second, out of the heat of the moment, and lend some commentary. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's all welcome. So, you know, if you have the time, go ahead and comment.
All right, thanks for watching. You take care.
We're still here. It's over.
Another one.